Imagine discovering that the most beautiful plant at your local nursery could cost you $10,000 to remove. That gorgeous shrub could crack your foundation. That flowering vine could trigger a lawsuit from your neighbor. That fragrant ground cover could poison your dog. Nurseries sell these plants without warning labels because they sell extremely well. Some of these plants are banned in certain states but sold freely across state lines. State agricultural departments maintain invasive species lists, but garden centers in unregulated states ignore them completely. The pretty picture on the plant tag never shows the destroyed septic system or the property value dropping by 10%. Stick around because plant number 1 has been banned by multiple states after escaping gardens and destroying native ecosystems across millions of acres. Here are 15 plants you should never grow in your garden starting now. Welcome to the channel where we dig up growing wisdom that protects your property and your wallet. If you believe in learning from other gardeners' expensive mistakes, then you are in the right place. Subscribe and tell me in the comments which plant you are currently fighting in your garden. Now let us get into this list, ranked from problematic to absolute nightmare. Number 15, Bishop's Weed, the innocent invader. Garden centers sell Bishop's Weed as a shade-tolerant ground cover with attractive variegated foliage. What they never mention is that you will spend the rest of your gardening life trying to remove it. Here is what makes Bishop's Weed a permanent mistake. The plant spreads by underground rhizomes that travel in all directions beneath the soil surface. Any fragment of root left behind regenerates into a new plant. Tilling does not kill it. It spreads pieces everywhere and creates hundreds of new plants. Pulling by hand never gets all the roots. Chemical herbicides require repeated applications over multiple years with inconsistent results. Bishop's Weed escapes from beds into lawns, paths, and neighboring properties. Some gardeners have actually sold houses rather than continue fighting this plant. The variegated form often reverts to aggressive solid green over time, becoming even more vigorous. For anyone considering Bishop's Weed as a shade solution, native alternatives like wild ginger provide ground cover without the permanent invasion. Number 14, Japanese knotweed, the foundation destroyer. When Japanese knotweed arrived in the 1800s as an ornamental, nobody imagined the destruction it would cause. Now banned or restricted across multiple states, Japanese knotweed can grow through concrete and asphalt, and has lowered property values by 10% in the United Kingdom alone. Here is what makes Japanese knotweed the most destructive plant most gardeners will ever encounter. Roots extend 10 feet or more below ground, making complete removal nearly impossible. Any fragment of root or stem regenerates into a new plant. The stems grow through foundations, driveways, drainage pipes, and septic systems. Mortgage lenders in the United Kingdom have refused loans on properties with Japanese knotweed present. Professional removal costs $5,000 to $15,000 or more, depending on the extent of infestation. In some jurisdictions, Japanese knotweed must be disposed of as controlled waste at approved facilities. Homeowners have faced lawsuits for not disclosing knotweed when selling property. For anyone who sees Japanese knotweed on a property, walk away regardless of how attractive the price seems. Number 13, mint, the culinary takeover. You want fresh mint for mojitos, tea, and lamb. You plant a small start in your herb garden. Within 2 years, mint has spread 10 feet in every direction and appears in your lawn, your flower beds, and your neighbor's yard. Here is what makes planting mint in the ground a universal gardening mistake. Underground runners called stolons spread rapidly in all directions. New plants emerge feet away from the original planting. Pulling and tilling only break the runners into fragments, and each fragment becomes a new plant. Even small pieces of root left behind regenerate. The only safe option is container growing with solid bottoms. Even containers with drainage holes allow escape if they sit on soil. Mint roots grow through those holes and establish in the ground below. Your grandmother knew this. She grew her mint in a bucket or a pot with a saucer. For anyone who wants fresh mint without garden takeover, containers are the only safe option. Number 12, trumpet vine, the beautiful stalker. Hummingbirds love the orange trumpet flowers. Gardeners love the thought of hummingbirds visiting. Nobody loves what happens after you plant trumpet vine. Here is what makes trumpet vine the gift that keeps on giving, whether you want it to or not. Root suckers emerge 30 feet or more from the parent plant. They pop up in your lawn, your flower beds, sidewalk cracks, and any available space. Cutting the main plant does not stop suckering, it actually stimulates more aggressive sucker production. The vine climbs with aerial roots that damage wood and masonry. Trying to remove established trumpet vine is an exercise in frustration that can last years. When plant number 1 gets banned across states for ecological destruction, trumpet vine comes dangerously close to qualifying for similar action. Native alternatives like coral honeysuckle attract hummingbirds without the aggressive invasion. For anyone who wants hummingbirds without years of fighting suckers, trumpet vine is not the answer. Number 11. Lily of the Valley, the deadly beauty. Few plants combine aggressive spreading with lethal toxicity as perfectly as Lily of the Valley. The delicate white bells and intoxicating fragrance hide a plant that has killed humans and animals throughout history. Here is what makes Lily of the Valley dangerous on 2 fronts. All parts contain cardiac glycosides that affect the heart. Eating leaves, flowers, or berries can cause fatal heart arrhythmias. Even the water in a vase containing Lily of the Valley becomes toxic. Children are attracted to the bright red berries that appear after flowering. Dogs and cats that chew the foliage face veterinary emergencies. The plant spreads aggressively by underground rhizomes escaping beds and invading lawns. Once established, Lily of the Valley is nearly impossible to eliminate. Toxicity plus aggressive spread makes this plant a liability no garden needs. For anyone with children or pets, the risk simply is not worth the 2 weeks of spring fragrance. Number 10. Chinese wisteria, the beautiful destroyer. Those cascading purple flower clusters draw gardeners like magnets. The fragrance fills entire yards. But Chinese wisteria destroys everything it touches with surprising force. Here's what makes Chinese wisteria go from beautiful to dangerous. Twining stems tighten around structures with enough force to crush gutters, bend metal railings, and collapse wooden pergolas. Mature vines strangling trees can take decades to kill their hosts. The woody stems become thick enough that removing them requires chainsaws. Roots damage foundations and underground pipes. Seeds germinate freely, and the plant has escaped into southeastern forests as an invasive species. American wisteria and Kentucky wisteria are native alternatives, providing similar beauty without the aggression. For anyone who wants wisteria, blooms without structural damage and ecological guilt, native species deliver the beauty safely. Number 9. Running bamboo, the lawsuit plant. Clumping bamboo stays in controlled clumps. Running bamboo does not. The distinction has cost homeowners tens of thousands of dollars in removal and legal fees when their bamboo invaded neighboring properties. Here is what makes running bamboo a legal and financial liability. Underground rhizomes can spread 20 feet or more per year in all directions. Shoots emerge in neighbors' yards, sometimes appearing through patios and driveways. Municipalities across America now regulate bamboo planting with required setbacks and barriers. Lawsuits for bamboo invasion are increasingly common, with courts holding planters responsible for removal costs on neighboring properties. Barriers to contain running bamboo must extend at least 3 feet deep and cost thousands to install. Professional removal requires excavation and disposal, costing $10,000 to $25,000. Real estate transactions involving properties with running bamboo require disclosure. For anyone who wants bamboo aesthetics without legal liability, clumping bamboo varieties provide the look safely. Running bamboo has triggered lawsuits and requires professional excavation. The next plant clings to walls while destroying them and escapes into forests to devastate entire ecosystems. Number 8. English ivy, the romantic destroyer. English ivy cascading down walls looks romantic in photographs. What those photographs never show is the damage accumulating beneath the foliage and the ecological destruction spreading beyond. Here is what makes English ivy problematic on multiple fronts. Aerial rootlets penetrate mortar and work into wood, causing structural damage that often reveals itself only when removal becomes necessary. The plant holds moisture against surfaces, promoting rot and mold. When ivy escapes into wild areas, and it always does, birds spread the seeds and it smothers native ground cover plants. Mature ivy climbing trees adds weight that causes limbs to break in storms. The plant is classified as invasive across most of America. Insurance claims from ivy damage have become common enough that some policies exclude it specifically. Native ground covers like Virginia creeper provide similar aesthetics without the structural and ecological damage. English ivy destroys walls and forests alike. The next plant has devastated wetlands so completely that it has been banned in most states after causing millions of dollars in ecological damage. Number 7. Purple loosestrife, the wetland killer. Beautiful purple flower spikes along roadsides and waterways seem like wildflower success. In reality, they represent one of America's worst ecological disasters caused by an ornamental plant. Here is what makes purple loosestrife a banned species across most states. Each plant produces up to 2 million seeds per year. Those seeds travel by water and wildlife to spread across wetland ecosystems. Purple loosestrife chokes out native vegetation that waterfowl, fish, and amphibians depend on for survival. Millions of acres of wetland habitat have been destroyed or degraded. Selling, planting, or transporting purple loosestrife is now illegal in most states. Some garden centers in unregulated states still sell it. Biological control using European beetles has been introduced, but the damage continues. For anyone who wants purple spikes in wet areas, native alternatives like blazing star and ironweed provide similar beauty legally. Purple loosestrife destroyed wetlands across America before bans stopped the spread. The next plant attracts butterflies but actually harms the populations it claims to help. Number 6, butterfly bush, the butterfly trap. Garden centers market butterfly bush as essential for butterfly gardens. The reality is more complicated. Butterfly bush may actually harm the butterflies it attracts. Here is what makes butterfly bush problematic despite its marketing. The plant provides nectar for adult butterflies, but none of the caterpillar host plants. Butterflies need to reproduce. Butterflies visiting butterfly bush are feeding but not breeding. Meanwhile, the plant seeds aggressively into wild areas, where it displaces native plants that do support complete butterfly life cycles. Oregon has banned the sale of butterfly bush entirely. By the time plant number 1 was banned across multiple states for ecological damage, butterfly bush had already faced similar restrictions in the Pacific Northwest. Sterile cultivars now exist as a compromise, but native alternatives like coneflower and milkweed support butterflies from egg to adult. For anyone who wants to actually help butterfly populations, native host plants matter more than nectar sources. Butterfly bush fails butterflies while invading wild areas. The next plant hosts the invasive spotted lanternfly, threatening agriculture across the eastern United States while being nearly impossible to kill. Number 5. Tree of Heaven, the pest hotel. Originally introduced from China in the 1700s, Tree of Heaven now grows in every state and serves as the primary host for the spotted lanternfly, an invasive pest threatening vineyards and orchards across the East Coast. Here is what makes Tree of Heaven a double threat. The tree seeds by the hundreds of thousands, creating forests of offspring. Cutting the tree causes aggressive sprouting from roots that can extend 50 feet from the trunk. Herbicide is required for any meaningful control. The crushed leaves and bark smell like rotten peanuts. Roots damage pipes, foundations, and sidewalks. Spotted lanternflies prefer Tree of Heaven above all other hosts. State agricultural departments recommend removing Tree of Heaven to help control spotted lanternfly populations. Professional removal is recommended because improper cutting makes the problem worse. For anyone with Tree of Heaven on their property, removal helps protect regional agriculture from spotted lanternfly damage. Tree of Heaven hosts destructive pests while defying all removal attempts. The next plant seeds itself across entire neighborhoods while dropping limbs that crush cars and damage houses. Number 4, mimosa tree, the neighborhood spreader. Those pink powder puff flowers seem tropical and exotic. The ferny foliage provides filtered shade, but the mimosa tree spreads aggressively, and it drops limbs without warning. Here is what makes the mimosa tree problematic for neighborhoods. Seeds germinate everywhere, creating seedlings across your property and your neighbors' yards. The wood is weak and brittle. It splits and drops limbs during storms without warning. Trees are short-lived compared to native alternatives, declining and dying within 20 to 30 years. Webworms infest the foliage, creating unsightly masses in the branches. The tree is classified as invasive across the southeastern United States. Native alternatives like redbud provide similar visual interest with stronger wood and better behavior. For anyone who wants tropical-looking flowers without structural failure and neighborhood seed spreading, the mimosa tree is not the answer. Mimosa trees spread seedlings everywhere while dropping limbs on property. The next plant was planted by the millions across America, but has become so problematic that states are now banning its sale. Number 3, Bradford pear, the American mistake. For decades, Bradford pear was America's favorite street and landscape tree. Millions were planted in subdivisions, shopping centers, and corporate campuses. Now states are banning it after understanding what all those trees have done. Here's what makes Bradford pear a mistake at every level. The branch structure creates weak attachments that split in ice storms and high winds. Trees planted 20 years ago are now splitting apart, dropping massive limbs on cars and houses. Bradford pear was supposedly sterile, but cross-pollination with other calorie pear varieties creates fertile offspring. Those offspring revert to thorny wild forms with 4-inch spines that injure livestock and wildlife. Thorny calorie pears now invade fields and forests across the eastern United States. South Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania have banned sale of Bradford pear and related calorie pear varieties. The flowers smell unpleasantly of rotting fish during spring bloom. For anyone with Bradford pear on their property, removal and replacement with native alternatives protects both your property and local ecosystems. After decades of structural failure and ecological invasion, multiple states have banned Bradford pear. The next plant creates habitat for the ticks that carry Lyme disease while spreading across entire forests. Number 2, Japanese barberry, the tick factory. That red foliage looks attractive in landscape designs, and the thorny branches seem useful as barrier plantings. But Japanese barberry creates the perfect habitat for the ticks that carry Lyme disease. Here is what makes Japanese barberry a human health risk. The dense, thorny growth creates humid, protected microhabitats where white-footed mice thrive. Those mice host ticks that transmit Lyme disease. Studies show significantly higher tick populations in areas with Japanese barberry compared to native vegetation. Children playing near barberry plantings face increased exposure to disease-carrying ticks. Birds eat the berries and spread seeds into forests where barberry displaces native understory plants. Maine, New York, and other states have restricted or banned sale of Japanese barberry. Native alternatives like inkberry holly and native viburnums provide similar structure without harboring disease vectors. For anyone with Japanese barberry in their landscape, removal protects family health while helping restore native ecosystems. Japanese barberry creates disease-carrying tick habitat in yards across America. We have reached number 1. The plant so invasive it has been banned across state after escaping gardens and devastating native forests. Number 1, burning bush, the fall color disaster. For generations, burning bush was the automatic choice for brilliant red fall color. Millions were planted in foundation beds, hedgerows, and commercial landscapes. Now states are banning burning bush after they recognize the ecological destruction those plants have caused. Here is what makes burning bush the worst invasive ornamental in American horticulture history. Birds eat the berries and deposit seeds in forests across eastern North America. Those seeds germinate in the understory, where burning bush displaces native shrubs that wildlife depends on for food and shelter. Forests from Maine to Georgia now contain monocultures of burning bush, where diverse native understory once grew. Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Minnesota, and other states have banned the sale of burning bush. More states add bans every year as the ecological damage becomes undeniable. Some nurseries still sell burning bush where it is legal, but responsible gardeners now refuse to plant it regardless of legal status. Native alternatives provide equal or superior fall color without ecological guilt. Virginia sweet spire produces brilliant red and orange fall color. Fothergilla provides yellow, orange, and red at the same time. Native viburnums offer reds and purples that rival burning bush. Oakleaf hydrangea delivers burgundy fall color with the bonus of spectacular flowers. For anyone who wants brilliant fall color without contributing to ecological destruction, you sacrifice nothing by avoiding burning bush. The worst invasive ornamental in history deserves the #1 spot on this list. These 15 plants have cost homeowners across America thousands of dollars, countless hours of labor, and in some cases, their health. Beautiful plants can be destructive plants. The pretty picture on the nursery tag never shows the lawsuit from your neighbor, the cracked foundation, the Lyme disease diagnosis, or the native forest converted to invasive monoculture. But you do not have to sacrifice beauty to avoid disaster. Native alternatives exist for every situation these problem plants fill. Native viburnums replace burning bush with equal fall color. American wisteria replaces Chinese wisteria with equal flowers. Clumping bamboo replaces running bamboo safely. Native ground covers replace English ivy without wall damage. Check your state invasive species list before purchasing any plant. If something seems too vigorous to be true, it probably is. If your neighbor warns you about a plant they regret planting, believe them immediately. Within one season of avoiding these plants, you will have saved yourself years of fighting, thousands of dollars in potential removal, and possible lawsuits from angry neighbors. These warnings come from gardeners who learned the hard way, so you do not have to. If this video saved you from planting something destructive, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments which plant on this list you almost planted or are currently fighting.